Hello, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Finwood, a green supply chain management company working with some of the world's largest capital-intensive organizations. We help them accelerate the energy transition and product decarbonization in a way that is compliant with regulation, but that also brings increased profitability. I'm also the host of Green Supply Chain Insights, my own web series where I talk about industrial decarbonization, the energy transition, and some of the most exciting innovations in that space. Today, I'm here on a different capacity. I have the pleasure to be joined by Ahmed Ragab for another one of Finwood's interview series. Ahmed, as he puts it himself, is a petrochemicals passionate. He's got more than 15 years of experience in the industry in various roles, and he's also the host of his own show, the Carbon Podcast. We'll make sure to leave the details in the comment section, in the description section, so you can get access to the Carbon Podcast. But yeah, without spoiling anything else, Ahmed, if we could start by getting to know you a little bit, and if you can walk us through your journey in the industry and tell us basically what led you here today.
Yeah, sure. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you, Juan. I believe it's all I have been like for my career in the last. It's almost like 16, 17 years now that in the petrochemical industry, in very different areas like in the Middle East, in the Gulf area, and also now in the Southeast Asia, and I have some capability and some capacities as well in the China. So it's always a great pleasure to be with you, Juan. Really interesting, and I'm sure that we will add a lot in this episode here today.
Excellent. No, thank you. And then exactly, Ahmed. So through your career and now perhaps even more actively in the podcast, you had the chance to speak with many industry executives, especially again in that petrochemical space. What would you say are right now the common themes or the motivations when it comes to decarbonization that it's coming again from these conversations with executives in the industry?
Yeah, I think through the podcast and also some other like conversation with the executive level in many petrochemical industries, it seems that the current theme in most of the petrochemical industry, it will be how to balance between the regulatories, which is coming day after day, which is really updating, and also how to make their business consistent and make it profitability as well. Uh, and also on top of that, this is like the responsibility of the corporate, like the corporate responsibility to the social or the society, which is the corporate living in. So this is the theme that it like now they are trying to balance between all of these three, let's say three dimensions, which is the regulatory or the regulations, and also the profitability of the corporate. And on top of that, also again the social responsibility. So already integrated that one in their like strategy for the next 5 and 10 and 30 years. This is also to match with all the global like regulation or all the global goal, like the zero goal in 2050. Some other countries which is shifted to 2060, but it's still there. So most of the corporate they are trying to integrate this in their strategies as well. And again, to balance between this and also keep the profitability, because maybe and with the current situations all over the world, which is the tension and every like the market is oversupplied, and the situation between China and America and all of this. So most of the corporates they are trying to balance adopting the decarbonization and their social responsibility also with their keeping their profitability. I think this is the big challenge, and this is the
Yeah.
theme that most of the corporate they are talking about here. Yeah.
No, I understand, and I think again those two make a lot of sense, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
I need to be compliant, of course, but also I need to make money, right? And it's how do
Cool.
we marry the two, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so would you say then exactly in terms of okay, they in order to comply with regulation, they need to make their businesses more sustainable, right? Because essentially some of
Right.
this regulation, what it's saying is, well, lower
Sure.
the carbon intensity of your
Yeah.
activities, right? So when it comes to to enacting that, right? So to making sure that those businesses are more sustainable, that they're lowering the carbon footprint or the carbon intensity of the petrochemical industry and their own operations, what would you say are the main roadblocks, right? So what's kind of stopping them from being able to do that?
I believe it's mainly, let's take it from that way. It's my point of view. I think the main roadblock, it needs some transparency between all, like the supplier. It's the whole supply chain. So it needs more like transparency between all of them, just to make sure that they are like an open communication channel, and there is a transparency of sharing the information, just to highlight where exactly the carbon emissions come from. So let's say the inconsistency in the information, or the inconsistency of the reporting system, which is maybe not complying with some systems or complying with some system over the other. So it needs to be unified. It needs to be like standardized at some level. That I think this is one of the things that I think it should be the roadblock for the coming years. Again, I would like to spot many lights on that one, which is the transparency between the suppliers and all the sectors in the supply chain, all the main things in that one. So this is like the main thing, which like can a small company as well. It can sometimes the small company has the concern that maybe we will lose our business, because integrating with the high tech or investing more, this will reduce their profitability. But again, as part of the whole supply chain process between the supplier and the producer as well, it should be the transparency, and make sure that everybody is on the same page at the end of the day. I think this is the main thing. This is the main strategy that most of the corporate, they are working on right now.
Yeah. No, I think exactly. I think basically collaboration, right, between the
Exactly.
stakeholders of the value chain. That's a key one. Making sure that data is flowing through.
Yeah.
And you mentioned also another key thing, which was the standardization, right?
Yeah.
Or basically that complying with one policy does not conflict with a different policy elsewhere, right? So
Exactly.
we need more standardization, and I think we achieve that through more collaboration as well, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
in that's a kind of great segue into what my next question is, which is specifically on the importance of data for sustainability, right? So
Yeah. Sure.
I kind of see that my question is, in your experience, how big of a hurdle, right, inconsistent data or poor quality data is when it comes to decarbonization efforts? And I think you've already kind of partly
Yeah.
answered that before, but if you could add a bit more detail there.
Yeah, sure. I think, yeah, the data is very hurdle for this process. As you can see, that it is shuttered everywhere, like the fragmented data that we have in many sectors, not only in the petrochemical, but petrochemical is connected with many other sectors that in the background, and also the end user as well. So the fragmented data, as we all say, the garbage in, garbage out. So if we don't have the accurate data, again, it's based on how we are reporting this data, how we are like recording and putting this data in our database. This is the first thing. You can say that we have many data which is already lost, and we didn't record it, and it's shuttered everywhere, which is not consistent, and maybe it will give like it will be like misleading, or make us take the wrong decision, right? So I think this is one of the major thing. I think also, if we are talking about that, maybe we can think about some technologies which can help us. That right now we have very evolving technologies like the AI, and even the blockchain, like in your business, like the FinBoot. So if we are adopting those high tech or the high end technologies, the cutting edge technologies that we have right now, which is really evolving, so I believe that this can reduce the inconsistency in the data, and it will, like, because as I mentioned, that it's scattered everywhere. So if we can have the transparency, which is the blockchain is like providing that and securing that, and also it will work like in the decentralized, which is make sure that everybody's connected together. And also it should need like some, how I would say that, like shifting to the cloud, which it will make the data more centralized. Some corporates still, they are pushing back. There is some resistance on that, but it will be mandatory sooner or later. So like, yeah, we need to connect everybody together, like to make sure that they benefit from that one. So I think this is the main roadblock. And this is like, the data is very important to be consistent and accurate as well.
Yeah. No, and I think, I mean, exactly. You mentioned basically, look, we need to embrace these new technologies in order to break through those hurdles or those challenges on data
True.
quality or even data sharing, right?
Yeah, true.
But also you mentioned the pushback, right? Some organizations where they're less willing to
Yeah,
either move to the cloud or less willing even to
yeah,
share data, and it's all kind of like a governance concern. But I
yeah.
think the way to combat that is also through the same message of, well, actually embrace the technology, right? There's already technology that exists that is scaled up with some
Right.
ecosystems where you can actually maintain governance, make sure that you comply, make sure that all of your kind of security concerns
Of course.
are satisfied, while at the same time unlocking the opportunity for data sharing and reporting throughout the supply
Of
chain,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So,
True.
yeah,
Yeah.
technology is a must, and I'm always happy to hear that, of course, as the CEO of a
Yeah.
technology
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
um, I'm going to gear basically the conversation towards another theme that I think it's quite interesting as well, which is the another hot topic is carbon markets, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of basically where we're going to be heading into the future, and hopefully that comes sooner than later, which is carbon capture, utilization, and
Yeah.
sequestration, right? So I think that certainly our future is more in that direction than in the carbon markets or carbon offsets
Yeah.
type of things. But it is true that these markets are still very very much alive today, and they also are suffering from problems with data quality, offset quality, or even uh, fraud,
Yeah.
outright fraud in those supply chains, right? So what are the companies that you've spoken with? How are they viewing these, particularly the voluntary carbon markets, and how that is being or will be leveraged for their decarbonization strategies in the future?
Yeah. First of all, I think most of the corporates, they were dealing with the carbon market as it's like complementary tool or something like luxury to have or something like this. But I think it's like a primary tool or a primary solution for that one. So uh, talking about the market or the carbon market, like the corporate should deal with that, as I told you that before, that they need to balance between this and the business as well. So I believe that for the carbon market, like some companies or some corporates, they are focusing on like doing some project with the social or the society around them, like reforestation or like planting many trees, which is like helping to reduce the carbon emission by a way or another. But yeah, they are working on that one. And I'm seeing now a huge shift for many corporates, as you are talking about. Once they are building their robust system on collecting the data and know exactly the emissions, especially from scope 3, which is, it has been like a science fiction. It will be very challenging to capture or to collect the data about the scope 3 for the carbon emission. But right now, many companies, they successfully doing that. So they are shifting to really doing the carbon capture projects. And without mentioning any names, I can see like many projects around the world right now. They are really working hardly and in a very fast paced on implementing the not only the carbon capture but also the carbon capture storage and utilization as well, like utilizing this carbon which has been captured and also producing like
Yeah,
some new material or so. So I think this business is really growing, and many corporates, they already included that in their strategies. It's not like a fancy add-on or just for conversation. It became like a
yeah,
mandatory, yeah, just to survive even in the business as well. Because right now, even the social responsibility, even from the individuals like us, I will prefer some corporate over the other, as they are like serving the environment, and they have like
yeah.
less impact on the pollution or something like this. So I think, yeah, the carbon market, it became now the primary solution. This is like to wrap up our conversation here, not only like a fancy or some luxury thing that the corporates has. Yeah, yeah,
Certainly, no, no. And I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more in that space in
yeah.
the, let's say, in the coming years, right? But
True, true.
basically, with that in mind, and to wrap up our conversation today, Ahmed, we're starting 2025, right? So
Yeah.
last year the industry changed and evolved quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
Particularly in matters of sustainability and decarbonization. What would you say? What do you believe are the basically top corporate priorities for decarbonization in 2025?
I believe that that thing that's already came up in many corporates, and I'm seeing that not only the petrochemical but also some manufacturing, they are shifting to that one, which is the life cycle time assessment or the life cycle assessment. So this is very crucial thing that we need really to know, like from land to hand. This is what I'm always saying. To do this assessment about the life cycle of all the products, like from all the suppliers, from the very early suppliers, and how to like determine the end of this product or the
Yeah,
life end of this product, and to measure all like the carbon emission along this value chain of producing this one. I'm seeing that in the car manufacturing, many companies already did this one. I would say also some corporate which are producing the toys for the kids, they are also doing that one, not only the petrochemical. Yeah, because they are facing many like the car manufacturing and also the toys manufacturing or whatever. They are facing the issues that once the product in the final like shape, this is like the end of life and it cannot be like recycled. So this is another issues with them. So they need to be careful about the carbon emissions and how their product they're impacting the environment. So I think again, like the life cycle assessment from the very beginning or the very starting stages of producing the product through all the suppliers or through all the supply chain until the final product, and also trying to identify all the carbon emissions at each stage. And not only like, as I mentioned, most of the corporates were focusing on only like scope one, scope two, which is very easy and very like they have hands on how to calculate that one. And scope three was like abandoned for like a very long time back. And many corporates, they thought that it's very challenging to capture scope three. While right now, many corporates, they are successfully calculating the carbon emission through the scope 3 as well, and they are really trying to minimize that as well. I know it's a challenging, it require like a lot of investment, but it really worth it. It's really worthy to invest some money to capture that, like how much the carbon that we are emitting or the emitting to the environment and the scope 3 especially. So
yeah,
this will give the whole like scope or the whole picture about the life cycle assessment, which is for any product, not only in the petrochemical. I think this is the very new thing, and I'm seeing that coming strongly in the coming years, not only in 2025. This will be the main focus for most of the corporates in the coming years. Yeah.
excellent. No, so I completely see it, right? So carbon tracking, special
Yeah.
focus on scope 3, and then leading into life cycle assessment, so we can really know what's the environmental impact of the products that we're putting in the market.
Of course. Yeah.
Ahmed, with that, one easier final question is, if our viewers want to reach out or if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, for sure. I think my LinkedIn profile, this is it's for everybody that he's welcome. He can contact. Yeah, everybody can contact me directly on LinkedIn. It's very popular there. I think it is the black horse right now. Everybody is on LinkedIn for their businesses. So I think we can put the LinkedIn account or the link to the LinkedIn into the comment section or whatever. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we'll put your LinkedIn on the description. We'll also put a link to the Carbon Podcast. Want to make sure that we amplify that as well. And
Yeah.
with that, I'll thank, of course, you, Ahmed, for joining us and for the conversation today, but also everyone who's watching this. And please start a conversation. If there's anything we didn't cover and you want us to answer, just leave a question there in the comments, and we'll make sure to get back to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Juan, for this interesting discussion. And it's always pleasure to talk to you. Yeah. Thank you. See you soon.
100%.
Thank
Cheers.
you.